you please get the back door? Okay, oops. Take this out. All right, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
This conference will now be recorded.
Okay. Before we actually officially get started with this special budget meeting, I am obligated to read this. Due to the declaration of emergency, this meeting is being held pursuant to authorization from the governor's executive orders. Some or all of the city council members may participate in this meeting by teleconference as authorized by Executive Order N29-20, issued by the Governor of California on March 17, 2020. Until further notice, there will be no public access to city council meetings. However, public participation is available in the following ways. Number one, members of the public are encouraged to watch the open session portion of the meeting via live stream at 3 p.m. www.communityspectrum.org/ or via the Calexico City Hall Facebook page at www.facebook.com/City of Calexico CA/. You may also join the open session portion of the meeting via GoToMeeting from your computer, tablet, or smartphone. That would be global.go-to-meeting.com/join/825-925-429. And you can also dial in using your phone. And that there are two numbers from the United States. One is toll-free, area 1-866-899-4679. The other one for the United States is 1 area code 646-749-3117. Area code access code, is 825-925-429. All right. So, let's begin our special session agenda. It's approximately 3:13. Roll call.
Mayor Bill Hodge,
Here.
Mayor Pro Temp David Romero,
Here.
Councilmember Rosie Arriola Fernandez, Councilmember Morris Risen, not here, Councilmember Luis Pacheco.
Here.
We have our quorum.
Okay, thank you. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag
To the
of the
flag
United States of America and to the republic for which it
for
stands,
which it stands,
one nation, under God,
under God,
indivisible,
with
liberty
liberty
and
and
justice for all. Thank you. Remain standing. And mission statement. Together, we pledge to provide effective and efficient services in a courteous and respectful manner to improve the quality of life for all in our unique border community. Viva Calexico. And we have also an invocation. Would you like to lead us on that, Councilman? Are you prepared, or I'll give it my best? Okay. Dear Lord, please help us through these troubling times. We know with your grace and support we will get through this pandemic and other troubling developments that we need to face. In the name of our Father, amen. Okay.
Amen.
Okay. closed session. Approval of the agenda.
So move.
Okay, second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, very good. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. It's approved. Announcements. These proceedings may be viewed on the City of Calexico website at www.calexico.ca.gov the Friday following the City Council meeting. Community office hours with Mayor Hodge have been suspended due to coronavirus. Community hours will resume until further notice. Upon resuming, hours and location will be at 5:30 to 7 p.m. at City Hall in the City Manager's Conference Room at 608 Heber Avenue, Calexico. Are there any public comments today?
We have some comment that was sent that wanted to be included in the last council meeting, but we overlooked it, and
Okay.
it wasn't way in advance and was
I will
overlooked.
allow that. That's good.
And it's just, it's from Mr. A. Medina Senior. And if you, do you want me to read it, or do you want?
No, can you read it?
Yes, and it's addressed to the City Council. Dear City Council members and Chief of Police, please add the following information to public comments on your next City Council meeting. I would like to share the following issues that include illegal trash dumping, hunting, vandalism, and traffic that take place near the junction of Walker and Cole roads that are of serious concern to me as a member of this community, in the hopes that you will take the proper action to resolve them. A most pressing issue I have previously brought to your attention several times since 2019 has been the illegal dumping of trash and dead animals by local landscapers at an empty lot located on Cole Road and across from Clinton Avenue. Trash dumping activities have now expanded to include the retention basin of the same lot, the south side portion of the All-American Canal between Walker Road and Highway 111, as well as the empty lot located at the corner of Clinton and Hillary Streets near the CB stop. In fact, these trash dumpings activities have increased during the past month to the point that some people are just dumping tires, mattresses, sofas, rolls of carpet, electronics, and any other trash on the side of the road around Calexico as if this city was a trash dump.
Wow.
Trash dumping is not just an eyesore for local residents and for visitors, but it can also lead to health problems and can easily become a fire hazard, as well as evidenced by at least 2 recent fires that have taken place in this area. There is plenty of evidence that someone is setting fire to trash and logs in this empty lot, the retention basin, and along the All-American Canal. A similar situation was taking place at an empty lot located on Jasper Road, where people had been illegally dumping trash and dead animals for years. When I reported the issue to call EPA last year, the agency acknowledged receiving my complaint and weeks later sent me a notice explaining that such complaint had been closed due to lack of action. Nothing was ever done until someone bought the property and cleared it. Unfortunately, all but one of the many trees in that lot were cut. It took 2 years of countless calls and emails to city, county officials, and IID authorities to respond and clean up, put up no trash dumping signs, and prevent access to the south side of the All-American Canal. However, people have managed to find access to this area through several entrance points and are now driving along the canal, hunting in the retention basin, racing off-road vehicles, dumping trash, vandalizing, and setting fires in this area. With more people walking, exercising, and fishing in this area, driving or hunting should not be permitted. allowing off-road vehicles would only increase dust particles in an already highly polluted environment. I have included images depicting these activities as well as some from Colonia Hidalgo and Mexicali so that you can appreciate how quickly trash dumping has transformed East Calexico and is quickly resembling some neighborhoods across from our border. Please clean up, put up no trash dumping and no hunting signs, and block vehicle access to this area. After all, this is the east entrance to our wonderful city, and we should do everything possible to prevent accidents, reduce health problems, pollution, fires, vandalism, and any other issue that could further deteriorate the city of Calexico. Respectfully, A. Medina, Sr.
Thank you. Thank you for doing that. Okay. Any others? No. That was. All right. We have one discussion item today. It's the presentation of proposed additional expenditures for fiscal year July 1st, 2020 to June 30th, 2021, contingent of additional revenues. And Carla Lavatos is going to give us a presentation. Thank you and welcome.
Good afternoon, council members. Here you have in front of you the presentation. You were witnesses of the presentations by all the city departments and their requests and their needs. So in my department, we put together the numbers for their requests, and we're presenting this to you for your approval in addition to our fiscal year 2020-21 budget. These expenses will only be approved once we have more revenues come in. At this point, as I had mentioned in the past, we have a balanced budget, which means we cannot afford any more expenses. But as the revenues start to produce and realize, then we will be able to start releasing some of these funds. These additional expenses will be added to our budget contingent, again, of revenues coming in. So we checked with most of the departments that all of their requests were included. So this is, at the end of the day, if we look at general fund, we have an additional number of expenses that comes out to $1,952,000. Again, this is spread out between all the departments. If we look at it by department, police has $619,000. The fire department, $697,000. Finance has a reduction in expenses of $31,000. Public Works, it adds up to $438,000. And our enterprise funds, library, $187,000. Recreation, $40,000. And then our enterprise funds, airport, $22,000. Water treatment and water distribution, $118,000. And wastewater, $119,000, adding up for the enterprise funds, $260,000. Again, these expenses will be added to our 2020-21 budget, but will not be released until revenues realize. So this is just for you to look at. After looking at all the presentations from all the departments, these are the numbers that come up. This includes staff as much as other expenses. Some of these expenses are one-time expenses, so if the city has a one-time revenue, we can start affording some of these one-time expenses. But again, this is contingent of the city having additional revenues. That is correct.
Okay. All right. Any discussion? We should try.
Ms. Lovato and Mr. Dale, is it fair to say that our water waste and since that has a little more funding than anybody else, could we fudge a little and maybe do something for them? I know the others generate general funds, and that's a hard budget, and it's very it's used up already practically. But
That is
if
correct.
there's a little excess here, maybe we could do something.
Water and wastewater could afford to the additional expenses. Unfortunately, airport does not have the revenues to support their expenses, but water and wastewater could. General fund does not have at this point, as I mentioned, we have a balanced budget and we're taking a vacancy allowance of about 243,000. So general fund cannot afford anything at this time, but as revenues start realizing, we could afford some of these expenses, and that will be brought up to you as on the quarterly reports. And then if we have the revenues, we can start releasing some of these funds. But as you're suggesting, water and wastewater could afford some of these additional expenses.
Mr. Dale, the civil engineer that's going to be, I guess, shared between the water and the wastewater is that 0.4 and 0.4 going to reach a 0.8, or is it just?
Yes, it'll be spread out, something to that effect, 0.8, more or less.
0.8, okay. And you see him basically working on that end of wastewater and with the water plant and,
There's a lot of work to be done on the water and sewer side of things. So, and also streets and parks.
so he's going to encompass,
Yes, but mostly water and sewer, and that's why it seems reasonable. Any other questions on that?
job description,
That will have to, I think we already have a job description
For that.
in that regard, yes.
okay.
So these are additional expenditures, and it seems that some of these would be essential, that we should automatically have them, but
Well, we have an engineering staff of one. And most cities, even in this county, have staffs of, 5, 10 engineers on board. And the comment was made several meetings back is, why do you use so many consultants? Well, mostly the time we use consultants is it's one-time monies or grant monies or those kind of things. When you hire someone, it's recurring expense. You have to look for the next 30 years of how to pay that position. And so until we can get to that point where we can afford to staff fully, it's usually consultants. But in this case, this is a needed position.
Along the same lines, court enforcement under this,
we need code enforcement.
We have code enforcement, and I think what was being addressed here is moving one of the code enforcement officers to finance so they can do
Yes.
business licenses and those kind of things. If I'm not mistaken, they can correct me, yes.
On what basis or what nature, what type of revenues, additional revenues do we hope for this upcoming year?
So we're looking at two different types of revenue, right? Recurring revenue, which is revenue that you can expect for years and years on a periodic basis, and then there's one-time revenues.
Right.
If the city sells a piece of property or those kind of things. So one-time revenues, we are expecting, there's a potential in that, and we will get into that in meetings to come, of some sale of some of the city's property. And that might be able to go, at least a portion of that would go to fund some of these one-time expenses that you see on this
Yeah,
list.
sorry, I meant revenues. I said expenditures.
Yeah,
Correction.
So they're one and the same, right? One-time expenses can be paid by one-time revenues, right? But you don't want to use one-time revenues and justify recurring expenses that next year you might not have
Right.
revenue. So that's why they need to be separated. And we do expect some one-time revenues potentially. Nothing set in stone, but it really looks like it's going to happen. And in that case, my advocacy would be to take off a certain portion of that fund that comes in and help pay for some desperately needed one-time revenue thing that have been identified by some of our department heads. And so,
Examples of one time? Just a few?
police vehicles, lawnmowers,
Radios.
fire
Radios.
Radios, fire alarms for the library,
Okay,
door at the library, those kind of things. You know, one-time expenses.
Okay.
Where recurring expenses are more like benefits, salaries.
right. Okay, thank you.
And Mr. Dale, with this civil engineer, point eight would be water plant, water treatment. Point 2 would be working over here,
Parks or permitting or whatever.
but that was,
Yes.
but that one's gonna hit,
That's the only drawback is there's a portion of it in the general fund, but it's a minimal portion, 20%. So
we're looking at,
we all know we've been like running on fumes in terms of staffing levels. Somehow we've been able to keep it going for the past 2 years, but you know, as revenues come in, as our director said, then we would like to start using some of those revenues for recurring expenses.
yes, 30,000 out of the general fund, that's 29,122.
Yeah, obviously, only in case there is the revenue to cover that.
Okay, okay. So the point 8 we can't cover.
We can't, obviously, we want to balance, but we don't want a negative budget, and right now, I believe it's right at the balance. And we are conservative with our revenues because we've, sometimes in the past years, we thought we would get more revenues from certain areas, and they didn't materialize, so now we're being a little more conservative, so that's why these things are in front of you to say, you know what, if the revenues do come in like they might, then we can start a prioritization list, especially when it comes to the one-time expenses. And
There's no
then,
wiggle room right now, really.
yeah,
Nothing to,
yep. I mean, the good news is that we do expect some one-time revenue. I think that a good portion of it should go to our reserves because we're still depleted in the reserve area. We should have at least 4 million in the reserve. For obvious reason, you see it right now, right? COVID, and all of a sudden you don't get the revenue you expected. You need a cushion.
That's right.
And so that's what the reserves are there for. We need that, and we're still not there. So I would say a portion of that goes to reserve, and a portion goes to pay for desperately needed one-time expenses.
Ms. Lovato, we're looking at a 1 month reserve total for right now.
We should have 6, maybe 4 to 6.
Well, we should have more than what we have, I mean.
Yeah. But the good news is now it was in the black.
No, that's true. That's true. Well, it's a wait and see. It's a wait and see.
Yeah.
But I don't know if this dais wants to commit to the point 8 and
What
maybe
page is that on, Councilman?
it's the, I don't know if we want to wait for a different time, or we have a code enforcement, civil engineer, and I don't know if we can wait on the project coordinator or.
Well, that's another position that could possibly have be prorated with the enterprise funds because it is clearly water and sewer. I don't know if they put it on here for that, but oh yeah, 0.8, yes.
Recreation.
Well, if we're going to make a move, that would be the only movement I would see out of this potential budget if we were to utilize it and look at the water waste, the enterprise zone, and there's money there. The general fund, we can't even consider anything with general fund monies right now, I don't think.
Until
It just-
revenues materialize.
Until we start getting, our new sales tax comes in, and property taxes, and whatever else is generated, our TOT, and, which is minimal, but,
So obviously revenues are estimated, and they could be higher or lower than what you estimate.
I spoke to Ms. Carmen Dorazo, and she just wanted to, as far as where she was coming from, wanted to state that Norma did an excellent job presenting last time, but according to Carmen, help me out here, Councilwoman. The, what is it?
Okay, I guess some of the report that Norma gave was that certain
Nonprofit.
organizations were not being charged. And
That-
as a country, they are being charged.
Well,
for use of the hall.
yeah.
And also.
That they've always charged.
I believe the policy is or was that they get the first one free and then they pay $200 after that.
No, well, she stated that it was 200 first charge, and after that was 500.
Oh, well, I'm not sure. Oh, the cleaning fee, that's why. Yeah, cleaning fees, thank you.
And also, I guess there wasn't really any funding of
The,
budget for it.
So-
Everything was coming from, and it's understandable, it was coming from,
Right.
who knew, from the library or,
yeah,
was-
that
that
was
being
the other point.
Mixed in,
yeah, it was mixed.
that's
But
one of the,
now- But now you're setting up.
So now that we have a budget line for the Cultural Arts Center, she was requesting that we consider just taking that 20,000 that used to go through the library into the Cultural Arts Center and just directly put it in the Cultural Arts Center.
I'm not sure what 20,000 you're talking about, but it,
She said on a yearly basis.
The revenue?
Under Sandra Thaler.
oh,
I'm at a disadvantage here. I'm just trying to,
During this fiscal year, there was a department created for the Carmen Durazo
Correct.
Cultural Arts Center. So they have a budget, I believe for this fiscal year, it was 15,000, this current fiscal year. And we have allocated some monies for next fiscal year. But once again, we don't have the revenues to give them any more money right now. But they do have a separate budget. They do have line items created
Well,
for them.
then one would ask, what's going to happen to that 20,000 in previous years that was allocated to the Cultural Arts Center? It's just, your
It was-
point being is we just don't have it.
It was not allocated to,
Oh.
it was part of the budget that was going to the recreation or library. It was taken out of their expenses.
Right.
So now they do have a budget, they do have money. We just don't have the capacity to give them any more right now. But they
Okay.
do have, and I can think of the number right now, it wasn't here because it's already budgeted for. But they do have a department, they have a budget, they have line
Right,
items,
that I
account
understand.
numbers, they have everything to,
Okay.
and we have allocated, I want to say half of an FTE to the Carmen Durazo. So they do have staff to stay at the
Okay,
Carmen
well, those
Durazo
are
Cultural Arts
improvements.
Center.
That's moving forward. That's good. Now, is today, just clarification, we're only going to vote on this one item about additional, in case additional revenues come in? Or when are we going to vote on approving this budget?
Next week on Wednesday, June 3rd, you'll
Okay.
have the budget.
It will be on.
Right, that is correct. This is just the additional expenses. You saw the presentations, the briefings from every department. These are the numbers that we come up with after
Okay.
their presentation.
Their
So this
wish
is-
lists.
These are the
Wish
requests.
lists.
Their wish
Their
list.
wish list, that is correct, and these are the numbers associated to that wish list.
Okay, thank you. I'm through with my questioning. Are there any other questions or comments?
The only question also that I have is on the water treatment and
Distribution?
yes, the projects.
Oh, yes.
That's something that it's probably in the, if we do we have the revenue for it, or once we get it? Or, I mean, we've been using,
Hydro,
switching that over.
no, we've used, Mr. Dale
Use
understands and knows.
consultants to pay for this.
What if we use
for
Mr.
an
Dale and
engineer.
water treatment, and then you want to switch over to, is it called hydrochlorine?
oh, we're talking about the water treatment.
Is that what you're talking about,
Yes.
Councilwoman?
That project, yeah, that's still, they're still looking at that on an engineering scale to see if that will be an appropriate project. Probably will, but that'll be funded completely by enterprise funds.
Completely?
So the proposal is to get away from the dangerous chlorine gas for obvious reasons that, it's super dangerous. And to go to maybe a chlorine on-site generation where all you have to do is supply like a salt and it creates the chlorine from the salt. That's one of the projects we're potentially looking at for the water treatment plant.
All right, I understand that position point of view. Could you elaborate on some of the employees there have a different perspective or argument? What's their argument
I don't know, they haven't made any arguments to me directly, but
against it?
you can't argue the fact that chlorine gas is hazardous and extremely dangerous. One of those chlorine gases cylinders leaks or pops if it's not within a contained system or scrub system. I mean, we're talking about evacuating half of the city. Like, it's that bad. So
That is bad.
so it's cheaper. I mean, chlorine gas, no question about it, is cheaper than, let's say, liquid gas or liquid chlorine. It's definitely cheaper, but it's a lot more, and you have more difficult to handle, and you have to have special licenses and all those kind of things to handle it. So it seems to be, at least on an engineering level, that like an on-site generation type of system would be great because, well, you got a high capital expense initially, but then it gets
the long
cheaper
term.
over long term because you're buying salt, right? You're just supplying salt. So
Okay.
there's like 3 or 4 different options. The other option is to go liquid chlorine, have them deliver the liquid every time, and that presents some issues and it's more expensive. So all those things are being looked at by our engineer right now, and they will make their recommendations, whatever that ends up being.
Okay.
Okay, thank you for your.
Yeah, thanks for the explanation.
Yeah, I've seen those tanks. They're huge, and you're right. If something were to
It would-
spark,
An international incident probably for this city if one of those were to leak, because we'd have to notify Mexicali and all. I mean, it's just not somewhere we
And-
want to be. I'm so grateful that nothing's happened up till now. I hope nothing ever happens, but on a proactive scale, getting away from gas is what
We should
usually
be doing.
what all these
It's a
districts and
better
cities
move.
are trying to do is because of this, just so hazardous.
Okay.
And we started with looking at this project because where the chlorine is stored right now is lower than the roadway. So we were looking at making a driveway that was not on an angle, but it became so expensive it didn't make sense. So we don't want the trucks don't back up into that building because it's on an angle. If one of those cylinders pops off, it rolls down and hits the floor. So they've always been parking next to it, taking the forklift and then driving the forklift backwards so it presents an issue.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Dale.
food for thought. Okay.
Okay, any more comments or questions? Okay.
It's pretty clear.
Yes.
Get the funding, yes, if we don't, well.
Yeah. That's pretty clear.
Only
Anything?
clear for the following year.
Okay. Any more comments from you, Mrs. Watts?
That's
All right. All right, then let's get ready to vote on this. Is there, let me find the subject matter. Anything else? Do we vote on this? Yes?
discussion.
Just discussion only. All right. Everybody satisfied? Okay.
Okay.
All right, everybody, please be careful. Practice social distancing. We know that the state has modified some of the guidelines for stage 2 low risk. That's allowing some retails to allow customers to come in at approximately 50% less before pre-COVID-19 occupancy. And churches, houses of faith are able to allow people to come in now, but no more than a maximum of 100 attendees, or fill up at 25%. I know we're all frustrated, and it's It's getting to be a long time that we're going through this, but we also have to be realistic and understand that Calexico, we have the highest cases of positive COVID-19 within the Imperial Valley. So my suggestion is be conscientious about still staying at home and try not to go out as much as possible, because this is a highly contagious virus and it's very dangerous. All right, thank you. I just wanted to say that.
I have a question.
Yes.
Maybe the chief can answer that. I know that, and when you go to the stores, you know how they don't allow us to go in with bags. Do the grocery stores are here in Calexico, do they supposed to continue to be selling them the bags, or are they supposed to give them to the customers?
Well,
If you go,
most of the stores are giving them out for free. I don't know which stores.
no, there are stores that are not. That's my question. But in El Centro, you go there, and they'll give you they don't even ask you. I mean, they'll give you they'll put it there and give it to you. Versus Calexico, you go to Calexico and you want a bag, what, 15 cents?
Well, it'd be nice for you to give us the price, the stores, and we'll go out there and notice them, because I think California has a small rule change to where they wanted them to give them out,
Really?
because they didn't want them to contaminate by you bringing your own bags.
Oh, okay, during this particular time.
During COVID, yeah.
Yeah, I see.
Something
Yeah, that's it. It's just during COVID.
Right.
That was my question. And
Okay.
also, like, I'm still concerned about the banks. There's no shade for those people. Wells Fargo and I don't know what it is, but the banks are Wells Fargo and Bank of America. There's no shade for them at all. 99 Story has a shade for these people. Why hasn't? And you go to El Centro, and they're taking care of their people. Unfortunately, I had to say, but.
Okay. All right. Any other comments? No? All right then. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So move.
So moved by Councilman Pacheco. Second? Council. All right. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. All right. Very good. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. We are adjourned.